Hi, welcome everyone. Good morning or good afternoon or evening, whatever time it is where you are at today. My name is Joanneke Weerdmeester.
And I'm King Koontz, and welcome to another GEMH Session, where we invite experts from design, art, mental health, and industry to talk about complex interactions between digital media and well-being.
Yeah, so these GEMH sessions are the result of the work that we've been doing at the Games for Emotional and Mental Health Lab, or the GEMH Lab for short. And at the GEMH Lab, we strive to research and develop ways in which digital tools like games can improve young people's mental health. So before we start today's session, I'd like to go through some housekeeping points. So in a couple of minutes, our guest will be giving a short talk. And after which we'll open up the session for questions. So if you have a question for our guest, please post it in the chat in YouTube, and then we'll try our best to get that answered later. So yeah, be mindful that the whole GEMH session, including the chat window, will be recorded and will also be available on YouTube afterwards. So if you type in something, that will also be recorded. Yeah, so we're very excited to be doing these GEMH sessions, but we also really value your input. So please let us know what you think of the GEMH sessions by filling out a short 3-question survey. We'll post a link for that in the chat window right now, but we'll also post it again at the end of the session. So you can fill it out whenever you prefer, and we would really appreciate it if you do that.
So I'll go ahead and introduce today's guest is buddy here, Matthew Kreutter. Matthew serves as the product director for ConnectedCamps, which is a nonprofit that provides connected learning experiences through virtual worlds like Minecraft and Roblox. He earned his bachelor's in computer science from Washington University and a master's in education from the University of Missouri St. Louis. So prior to joining ConnectedCamps, Matthew served as a middle school math teacher through Teach for America. Alongside teaching, Matthew led elective courses in video game design, introductory programming, which is all what initially drew him to working at ConnectedCamps.
Yeah, and so in today's GEMH session, Matthew will share something with us about how he has worked at ConnectedCamps to create programs for grieving youth, which combines online support in combination with face-to-face activities. And specifically, he will talk to us about creating a custom Minecraft server called ExperienceCraft. Very exciting. And Matthew will explore some of the affordances of ExperienceCraft, the outcomes that they've observed, and what they hope to see in the future. And after the talk, he will be answering some questions from the audience, and together we'll talk more about the potential of digital play-based community spaces to support people's grieving process. So yeah, Matt, we're very excited to have you. And yeah, the floor is yours.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much. Let me go ahead and share my screen. Joanneke, am I good to go? We're looking good? Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, I'm so grateful to be here. This is just a great opportunity to talk a little bit about the work that we are doing on ExperienceCraft. Like Joanneke mentioned, it is a Minecraft server. It's also a Discord server. So we'll talk a bit about the combination there, the background of the project, how we got here, what we've been working on, what we've seen happen with our kids, and again, yeah, what we're hoping to see in the future as the space continues to evolve. So first things first, I am not the solo person that is working on ExperienceCraft. I would be remiss to not introduce also members of my team who are unfortunately not able to be here today. But there's me, lovely introduction by Ken and Joanneke. Also working from ConnectedCamps, we have Katie Salen, who's our Chief Design Officer. And then on the ExperienceCamps side, so again, this project is sort of the combination of two nonprofits, ConnectedCamps and ExperienceCamps, big on the whole camp thing. We have Courtney Dubin. So quick project introduction. ExperienceCraft is at its core a persistent online play-based space that is meant to support grieving youth. It's a whole lot of words just to say we have a Minecraft server, we have a Discord server, and we're hoping by creating these persistent community spaces where kids can continue to interact, stay connected, make friends, find ways to process their grief together, communicate, play, go through conflict, resolve those conflicts, that there will be some kind of positive outcome in terms of their actual grief journeys. The research we've used as sort of backing for this does really show that play-based spaces provide connectivity, and connectivity does provide affordances for grieving youth. to find healthier ways to cope. And we're hoping that this combination of Minecraft and Discord creates an online space that does that. So again, ExperienceCraft, yeah, it's an online community for grieving youth composed of a custom Minecraft and Discord server. And the main things we really focus on are creating a space where grief is normalized. This is not really how it is for a lot of these kids in their normal lives. They go to school, they may be known as the kid whose dad died. They go to a regular summer camp and they may be known as the kid who sometimes cries to sleep because they lost someone earlier in their life. This is where ExperienceCamps really stepped in, I think 6 or 7 years ago. They have a 1-week sleepaway summer camp where that's the entire point, is that everyone who is going to that summer camp gets it. Everyone here gets it because all of the youth who are going, all of the volunteers, all of the counselors that they're working with have lost someone, and they have this sort of shared experience that they just know is true about one another. And so grief is really just acknowledged and normalized in those spaces. And that's really important for us. The last two, I guess, like key priorities that we have, one of which being that youth have opportunities to just make meaningful contributions to the community, is really in pursuit of one of our outcomes that we're going for, which is just that they feel a true sense of belonging where they are. Again, a lot of the research shows that for kids who are grieving the loss of a loved one, they don't feel a sense of belonging. Perhaps being at home is actually triggering because that's one of the places where they remember their person the most. And so what we're trying to do is just to create a space where kids can go and feel like they truly belong because they have friends there, they have mentors there, because grief is acknowledged and normalized there, and all of these other positive reasons just to provide this sense of belonging. And then lastly, just creating spaces where youth can actually process openly, share their emotions openly, and provide and give support to one another in sort of a near-peer mentorship model. All of our counselors are college-age students. All of the volunteers on the server are high school-age students. ConnectedCamps, this is really our model, where we're leveraging this near-peer mentorship model where youth and youth-adjacent youth are really working together to support one another instead of potentially a situation where adults are just trying to be the saviors or really be the people that kids are trying to connect with, but there's something missing there. We're really leveraging this near-peer mentorship model where youth and youth-adjacent are supporting each other. Sort of the project introduction for ExperienceCraft. In terms of how we got here, it's like a background for the project. I'm sure this is not a surprise to anyone watching, but kids, especially kids in the last 2 to 3 years, have lost caregivers or family members at pretty alarming rates, especially coming out of the pandemic, right? The worldwide stats are crazy, and this is what you're seeing in the figure to the right. In the US alone, it's around 200,000 at this point, probably 250, 300. I think this study was done in early 2022, so that number continues to rise. But 200,000 plus American children have lost a parent or primary caregiver. This doesn't even include the kids who have lost a sibling or a non-primary caregiver, like an aunt, uncle, best friend. And again, much higher rates among communities of color. And something that ExperienceCamps was trying to do and really focusing on was providing space for youth to attend this 1-week-long camp over the summer, have it be the best week of the year, and then really build these connections. And they realized, well, 1, we can't do that during the pandemic. 2, we only have a limited number of physical sites that kids can actually get to. There's only maybe 4 or 5 ExperienceCamp sites around the country. And 3, we want to provide a space that actually exists year round. We have this 1 week. It's incredible. It's an incredible experience for their youth. What's happening the other 358 days of the year, right? And so ConnectedCamps and ExperienceCamps sort of came together with this problem statement of there are all of these kids out there grieving the loss of a loved one, especially in the wake of the COVID pandemic. There are all of these kids in the ExperienceCamps community who are really hurting, right? They missed camp in 2020. They missed camp in 2021. We weren't able to run. They're finally going back to camp, but we had these 2 years where nothing could happen. What can we do in those situations? What can we create that really provides that same level of space for these kids? And we came up with ExperienceCraft. So the project purpose, just everything that's driving what we're trying to do, is just around this need for community. We're recognizing that the youth that we're trying to serve just have a need for community. They need to be able to see each other and talk to each other and be around one another on a consistent basis. We have well-established offline, so in-person social emotional learning, spirituality, grief supports. ExperienceCamps really comes with this expertise. And then ConnectedCamps is bringing the online setting expertise. And we're trying to meld the two, where these support models can be transferred to and designed for purely online spaces in Minecraft and Discord. Three things that we really try to focus on, and we'll talk about a little bit more in a bit, are how we socially onboard kids into the space. You can't just plop into a Minecraft server and hope for the best. There needs to be some kind of social onboarding where kids start to understand, okay, these are the cultural norms on this server. For example, grief is normalized. I can talk about this. Amazing. These are the sorts of things that kids here do or don't do. You know, we don't break each other's builds. And here are some of the guardrails we have in place that sort of establish those practices. How do they make friends on the server? How do they find groups to play with? How do they make sure that they're not just joining a new space to just continue to feel isolated in that new space? Second one is youth-led governance. All of our community norms, you know, a lot of the structures that are in place on the servers are led by youth. We leveraged a youth advisory board, which was composed of members of the ExperienceCamps and ConnectedCamps sort of high school aged community to help us build the initial prototype. And on a nearly daily basis, we are leveraging youth feedback to try and create a space that is tuned to exactly what they need, with our guardrails still up to support them in ways that we know will work, right? And then finally, I've said this, I think, maybe 4 or 5 times at this point, but it is incredibly important to us, this near-peer mentorship model. Kids support volunteers, volunteers support counselors, counselors support volunteers, volunteers support kids, and all of them support one another. We really don't have a system where there's a teacher and the teacher is the only person who can help. Kids help other kids. That's something we really emphasize. Kids help up as well. So if a volunteer needs something, kids can help out. And really what we're trying to do here is create this sense of belonging again, where they're in a community, they're not just at a program. We really do see a difference there. So our approach, this is something that ConnectedCamps always leads with, and that we're trying to meld with what ExperienceCamps leads with. We lead with a play-based focus. And so for us, a lot of the research that we're doing is just around how play-based spaces can promote healthy social emotional practices. We have this Minecraft Discord server combination. It's moderated by campers themselves. It's moderated by high school volunteers, moderated by college-age counselors. And the emphasis is on whether or not they can enjoy what they are doing. That's what we're focusing on with ConnectedCamps. Then when we meld the approach with ExperienceCamps, one of their big focuses is how you can unlock different parts of a kid's grief journey to support them along their way. And so when we combine these two things, we're really focusing on establishing and maintaining positive relationships between kids and counselors, between kids and volunteers. We're trying to decrease the stigma around expressing emotions in general, just any emotions, and making bids for support. Kids find this really difficult, right? It's really hard to ask for help, even for adults. I won't even just say kids, even for adults. It's hard to ask for help. And something really focused on is how do we create play spaces, so play forward spaces where kids ask for help. Oh, well, I'm asking for help on my build. And then it actually feels easier to ask for help when I'm feeling sad or angry. And then it's actually easier to ask for help in real life when I'm feeling those emotions and I'm not in ExperienceCraft. And so we're working towards this progress where through the relationships and through decreased stigma on the server, there are real world outcomes for our kids in terms of their grief journey, in terms of their social emotional well-being. Fourth, we're building capacity for creative and constructive conflict resolution. This is huge for us. Our conflict resolution space is called The Resort. And it's a space where there are obby courses in Minecraft. If you know what those are essentially obstacle courses where kids can jump around and move and sort of express themselves physically while going through some kind of conflict resolution with a volunteer or counselor or with another kid. We learned a long time ago, this was maybe like 6 or 7 years ago for ConnectedCamps, we used to just freeze kids in Minecraft. There was a freeze command where they would just not be able to move or not be able to chat or anything, and they would just log out, right? And so when we look at online spaces, we have to think really, really carefully about how conflict resolution actually functions in the space. because in an online space, you can just click exit and then you're gone, and you avoid this, or actually you miss out on this really great opportunity to make progress towards some goal as a community. And then exploring identities and interests. We have a pronoun patio. It's a physical space where kids can jump on buttons that will assign or tag themselves with pronouns. They can sort of explore different parts of their identities and interests in these spaces. On Discord, there's a similar level of just identity and interest exploration where the things that you're doing and the things that you're saying, you can kind of play with the identity that you're expressing and sort of see how that feels. And this is really big for us. So what we've seen so far, this is one of my favorite slides. I'll explain the two photos. The Discord screenshots, I think, are fairly self-explanatory. It's just kids being kids. But what was so impressive to us is that these are kids being kids with people they've never met and people that they've only interacted with online for a very short period of time. This unifying thread of having lost someone and just, processing your grief together, we've seen at least, ties this community together extremely quickly, and it's extremely encouraging for the work that we're doing. And so we have a couple kids just outside of server time just saying, I missed you guys. Like, I'm going to try really hard to be there next time. We got Big Juicy in the bottom right saying that they beat this game that they play, and someone else sort of encouraging them. And then our counselors got in on the discussion. So it's really incredible seeing the community come together after such a short period of time. For the two photos, the one that looks a little bit like a dining room, we have a space in the world called the Memorial Garden. It is what it sounds like. It's a space where kids can go and build, kids, volunteers, and counselors actually, can go and build something in remembrance of their person. This was one of the builds that was created in the first week that the server was open. So server opens on a Monday. On a Wednesday, these kids have barely even talked to each other for more than 4 hours. They are sort of getting to know each other. They're building fun stuff. And a couple of them go over and build this dining room together in remembrance of their person. His name was Joanneke. And it's just incredible, right? There are other ones around in the Memorial Garden where there's a kid and his dad by a pond going fishing, because that was one of his favorite memories. There's one that simply says, like, I miss you, Grandma. And it's this sort of like pink star build. And even outside of the Memorial Garden, you'll have sort of like play-based takes on these more social, emotional, like deep feelings, where we had a group of kids build this Among Us statue and then say, well, I want to add something more to this. And they wrote hug a friend on it, right? And so these are the sorts of things that we're seeing so far that are really encouraging towards some of the outcomes I'm going to show you on the next page. These are the things we're working towards. So we're still very early on in the server's development and sort of it running. And so a lot of the outcomes that we're working towards are distant, but we're getting there. So some of these are, we want to increase the feelings of belonging to a grief smart community. We want to increase kids' agency over their grief journey. We want to increase the number of bids for emotional support that they're making while with us. Bolded, this is what you'll see on the right, just like a little glimpse into some of the process work that we're doing. We want more willingness to process and openly express difficult feelings. So a process that we go through on the ConnectedCamps side as we build out these spaces is, okay, where can they do these things? Like, how would this even work? Well, maybe they create something that means something to them. Well, where would they do that? Okay, well, in the Minecraft world, we have creative builds, we have the Memorial Garden. They all get customized Zen islands where they can go as sort of a decompression space. Okay, well, how do they get to this next stage where they want to invite someone to that space or share this with someone? So we're going through all of this thought, so like brainstorming and thought processing, as we try to build out intentional spaces within Minecraft and Discord that facilitate these sorts of things happen. So that's it. I know I'm a little over time. I keep checking my my clock. I'm a little over time. We have some time for Q&A. I also had a question for you all if we have time towards the end. But if at any point you want to reach out, my contact information is here. And then two places you can find us are just ConnectedCamps.com and ExperienceCamps.com. But thank you so much. This is a ton of fun, and I'm excited to see what kinds of questions you have.
Yeah. well, I guess I'll I'll open it up first. Thank you so much, Matt, for your talk. It's so great to see also the examples of the ways that kids were already, yeah, going along, working with the server and putting all the different. I really liked that the hug statue that was on the picture. It's very adorable. I guess a first question that I wanted to ask you just to get things going is, why did you go with Minecraft, besides the fact that it's a very popular game? Were there any other, yeah, reasons or considerations that went into that decision?
Yeah, absolutely. So there are a number of open world sandbox games that all have similar affordances in terms of creativity and exploration and just a number of things you can do. Minecraft is probably just the best. It's the most popular. It has the most functionality. Kids tend to already have it and be invested and feel like they want to be there. So these are all great things, right? This is often a problem with, and I know you two probably know more about this than I do, but with sort of games for well-being are separate from popular games, and it can be really hard to get buy-in where kids are like, yeah, I want to go do that, but my friends aren't, and I've never heard of it, and my favorite streamers are never playing it. With Minecraft, it's already a game they want to play, like they want to be in those spaces, and this is hugely helpful, again, for creating a robust community, creating that sense of belonging, increasing community engagement. It's just something they want to do. It's also an incredible tool. It's just crazy. I don't know if either of you saw, but you're able to build a functioning, simple, but functioning computer inside Minecraft with the built-in Minecraft sort of like circuitry. It's called Redstone, that functions as like simple logic gates and electricity. So that's the sort of thing that you can do, right? And something that, you know, I alluded to, I had a question for everyone else. A question that I have towards the end of this, if we have time, is just around some of the AI tools, right? I'm sure many of you have heard of ChatGPT. ChatGPT actually works in Minecraft. You can tell ChatGPT to build you something in Minecraft. So it can do a lot. And we think that because it's so popular and because it can do so much, it really is just this near perfect tool for trying to do some of the work we're doing around community building.
Yeah, I immediately wrote down Redstone. I had no idea that was possible within Minecraft. I actually haven't really played Minecraft that much myself, but I think it's a great idea to take something that's already such a popular thing and that's so known, and then working with it. It's also not always possible, right? Because you can just grab any game from the shelf and create it in a way that you want to. But because I guess the point of a lot of what Minecraft is it is a sandbox for you to create things in, that makes it so great for this. And I guess also that you can make a separate server, right? I guess that's also important to.
Yeah, and it some of its affordances are also around safety, right? Like exactly what you're mentioning. ExperienceCraft is on its own server. It's completely safe listed. You can't just join, right? You have to be added to our safe list. Beyond that, it has a lot of tools that support our moderators, right? So our moderators can see all of chat. Our moderators have something called log block, which basically just shows you everything that has been done. It's like an edit history, you know, for like a Google Doc. It's an edit history for the entire Minecraft server. And so when we look at conflict resolution and a kid says, hey, they stole my stuff, and another kid says, no, I didn't, we can see what actually happened. And this really helps with consistency. Well, it helps build trust, right? When I was a teacher, this was a difficult thing that you have to overcome as an educator, which is, how do I build trust with my kids? How do I make sure they know that I'm not giving out detention or demerits or, you know, calling their parents for inconsistent reasons when they see someone else doing something and they didn't receive that same consequence? It's so much easier in a world like this, and it really provides this platform for our volunteers and our counselors to stand on as they try to build sort of this feeling of consistency and this feeling of trust amongst the youth that join, where they know, oh, like this is a space where we really are treated fairly and equally, and, you know, we really are prioritized in that way. So yes, it provides a lot. It's a great game.
Yeah, great.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, there is a little bit into the logistics around it. So how, or what a better question is, what is it taken for you guys to Experience Camps and Connected Camps to put together a team that can, as you said, you have your youth advisors, your peer youth advisors, the counselors. If a lot of, I think we've had a lot of other work and a lot of other interests that are just maybe we don't have the resources to do that. Or it sounds all great, but how do we get that many people involved? Where do we start? We talked about Minecraft and Roblox really great for because they're sandboxes and you can craft it. But if another game that already exists that's not a sandbox, how do I use that game if I want to attract them to a game that's already already out there? So what steps could someone looking to start or try to work in this same way begin? Where could they begin putting that together?
So for us, at least, like similarly with Minecraft, a big jumping off point for us is just to start where kids already are. So the same thing for Discord, right? We used to use TeamSpeak for one of our servers. Kids just aren't really on TeamSpeak. I was on TeamSpeak years and years ago when I was playing games with my friends. It was an easy like voice chat, protocol to use. Kids are on Discord. Kids are on Minecraft. And so if you're starting where kids are, you're starting somewhere where they have vested interest and they have knowledge. And this is so important because you want to leverage those two things. You want to leverage their interest and you want to leverage their knowledge. It's, in our opinion, healthier, it's better, it's easier, it's more efficient to create these communities, and there's better longevity, there's better outcomes. It's overall better for the kids and everyone involved. If you're creating these communities with a lot of input from youth, and then it's easier for youth to provide input if it's something that they're already involved in and they know and they love and they're interested in. If I asked a kid who's never played Minecraft, like, hey, what kinds of activities do you want to do in Minecraft? It'd be a really hard answer, really, really hard question for them to answer. If we're asking youth, like, what kinds of things do you want to do in this Minecraft world that would support you having fun, support you building a community, support you processing your grief journey? Oh, well, I like building. Can we have a place where we can build memorials for our people? Absolutely. You can have the memorial garden. Well, I really like exploring. Can we have a survival world where we go and explore and sort of like build up this base? Absolutely. We have a survival world, right? And even if the game doesn't have those affordances, like even if you're in a game that's a little bit less sandboxy, there are still ways, again, to sort of create those smaller affordances around community. ConnectedCamps runs esports programs. We have programs in Fortnite. We have programs in Overwatch. We have programs in Smash and Rocket League. And these are not sandbox games. But again, when we're leveraging kids' interests and kids' knowledge, there are ways to still provide similar experiences around social and emotional growth, conflict resolution, avoiding tilt if you're playing a competitive game, working together if you're playing duos in Fortnite or playing as a full squad in Overwatch, where as long as the kids are doing something that they're really passionate about and it's interest-driven, you can find ways to sort of funnel that into the outcomes that you're trying to support. So start where the kids are. If they're in these games, then start there.
Okay. And then as a quick follow-up on that, then also is do you think that any of like this same process that you're using, you've focused around grief, but do you think any of this transfers to other domains? Like you said, we could talk about trying to not be around tilt. You gave the example of other games that you're using, but would you? It seems like the process is built around community, but what about the domain of emotional or mental health that you're communing around?
Absolutely. We had a space similar to ExperienceCraft prior to ExperienceCraft that did not have as specific a lens as grieving youth. The lens was a little bit wider in terms of just broad social emotional learning and community building in this free play server. And we saw incredible outcomes in that space as well, just in terms of kids joining a community and learning how to resolve conflicts with one another and how to communicate and how to build and maintain relationships. And all of these really positive things absolutely will happen outside the lens of something as specific as grief. there is potential, ConnectedCamps is really interested in working with youth with developmental disabilities. And so we're thinking long-term about some partnerships there where perhaps we're creating a similar space. Again, the lens is not grief. The lens is still, broadly social and emotional growth, conflict resolution, with an emphasis on, well, how do we create accessibility for youth with developmental disabilities? How do we make this really function in a way that allows them to access all of these amazing tools within Minecraft that can really support creativity and support exploration and support relationship building. Again, this is one of the huge benefits of Minecraft. It is so flexible that whatever lens you choose, whether it's youth who are grieving, youth with developmental disabilities, youth who just need a place to be together, youth who are struggling with social interaction, you can create systems in that Minecraft server that specifically support whatever the body of work is that you're trying to do. Again, as long as you're staying extremely tuned to what the youth want and what the youth need. So again, really integrating them in the process of, what is it that you feel like you need? Let's try it. Okay, well, it doesn't seem like that's really working. Let's try something else. Okay, this seems like it's really fitting what you want, what you need. So yeah, hopefully that answers the question.
Yeah, no, it sounds seems to be a theme of coming back to what they need in their space. I don't know, it seems to be developing here. Let's take a couple of questions.
I mean, it seems like the most logical thing, but still it's the hard part to do often of these projects, to not forget who you are targeting and who you're doing it for.
Right. Yeah. I'm gonna take a couple questions from our audience here. We've got one. Thank you for sharing this important work. I was intrigued about your explanation about the conflict resolution space. What makes this space more successful than previous freezing response?
Yeah, great. Well, I'll talk about the freezing response first. I will not pretend to know the psychology behind this. I'll just make some guesses. But our previous conflict resolution was if someone did something bad or broke our guidelines or broke our community norms, and they didn't want to have a conflict resolution conversation, they would just get frozen in the Minecraft world. It's similar on Discord if you're being or a Zoom call if you're just being force muted, or if in the real world it's almost like you're being put, and this is like such an old school education thing from I don't even know how long ago. You're being put in the corner, right? Or like the dunce cap, and you're put in the corner just to face the wall. This feels terrible. This is a horrible experience. And especially in Minecraft, part of what makes the game, I feel like, so successful is that it's so freeing. You can move around, you can jump, you can fly, you can build, you can do things that you probably otherwise wouldn't be able to do in the real world. And this is a huge component of feeling like you have agency once you are logged into this online world. And if that agency is taken away, you only have a couple options of how you take it back. Option number one is you just hit escape and exit, and then you're back in the real world and you can get up and move around. Actually, that's really the only option. I don't think there is an option number two. And so that's really what we were seeing. It's just over and over, kids would either be extremely frustrated at being frozen and the conflict resolution conversation would go terribly because the kid is in a pretty triggered state of just this emotional fight or flight response, or they just leave and you just miss out on the entire opportunity of having the conversation. And since these are free play spaces, they're drop in, drop out, perhaps that kid just never comes back. They just decide, I just don't even want to come back to ExperienceCraft. I'm just going to go play on a different Minecraft server. Instead, what we've created with the resort is it is still an isolated space. Kids can't fully leave. Kids can't come if they're not brought there by a moderator. So it's private. No one else can see what's going on there. But there's this sort of same level of dignity, I guess, dignity and agency in how we're treating youth in the conflict resolution, where you're still able to move. And it's almost like there's little activities for you to do to help you process whatever it is you're feeling, or help you sort of get to a state where you feel like you're actually ready to have a conversation. We've just seen that this really boosts the level of productivity and just emotional awareness that kids are going to have when they're entering a conflict resolution conversation, instead of just being frozen in place, which kind of just feels like I'm forcing you to talk to me. You must talk to me right now, and you can't move or do anything unless you start talking to me. Versus, hey, we're here, we're in the resort. if you want to talk right now, let's talk. Otherwise, I'll give you, I'll set a minute timer and I'll let you like try this obstacle course for a minute, and then we'll come back and have our conversation, right? It just feels different. And I totally get it from a kid's perspective. You just still have that same level of dignity or agency as you're resolving the conflict.
It sounded like it got in my head. You were like, I'm putting you in timeout because you're grieving right now. It's like you're in timeout, now you have to talk to me. Like, yeah, that doesn't seem right. I got another question from audience. What's the balance between kids wanting to be with other kids who also have experienced loss versus kids wanting to blend into just the general non-grieving peer group?
This is huge, right? This is something that ExperienceCamps, so the partner that we have that is a lot more deeply knowledgeable about grieving youth, this is something that they are hyper aware of. What we don't want to do is create this really isolating bubble where you only hang out with other grieving kids. What we do want to do is support you or support youth with identifying things about themselves, things about their grief journey, things about how they're processing or how they express things or how they ask other people for help or how they communicate, and make improvements or at least make progress in those things so that they can carry those with them when they're at school. Because when you're at school, it's extremely unlikely that you're only around other youth who are grieving the loss of a loved one. And so you're going to have to like find these other communities and feel like you can belong in other communities as well. And so that's really the priority, is like, how do we build some of these skills within this community where we know you're going to feel comfortable, right? We have this base layer of feeling like you belong and feeling comfortable within the community. How do we take that and really leverage it to support your growth and your progress as you translate that outside of this community? Obviously as well, right, it's totally fine if this is a really important community to you and you always come and play on Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays. We are just aware that there are some negative externalities if this is the only community. And, if it's not Friday, Saturday, or Sunday, it's Monday through Thursday, and you're actually regressing in terms of your grief journey, then we have to, we identify that that's not what we want the space to be like. And so we are very, very aware of that sort of balance in how the community interacts.
Yeah, I feel like it's also more the balance with maybe veering a bit more into that chocolate-covered broccoli territory, where I guess sometimes it's also about like how much emphasis do we put on the fact that this is a space about grief, and that is the point of what it is, and how much can it also just be a space to have fun, and finding the balance in that. I can imagine that that's pretty hard to go, okay, it's fine if they also do, fun things, and that's also part of it, like having fun, finding a community. But like, if they don't interact with any of that content, then maybe you don't really get to what you want to. So yeah.
It seems like the answer is like it's a moving target because it's an always evolving space, right? And so it's sort of it's because it's like, I think as a designer, you start thinking like, okay, here's the experience I'm trying to design and craft for, but that experience I want to craft for is constantly evolving. So then that means my design constantly evolves, right? So I don't know. It's like, do you want to hit this balance between keeping it fun, but keeping it intentional? Yet, that intentionality needs to happen, as you say, in the space where they're already engaged. In that space where they're engaged, where they want fun, is like, I need content. I need to do this. I need that. I want this. And so, yeah, it's very delicate. It doesn't seem like it's a one-shot answer, but it's, yeah, it's really interesting what you guys have put together there. Also, go ahead. I didn't know if you were up to respond. No, okay. I think we have time for one more question. Is there data on how often grieving-related discussions happen in the chat while the kids play? And are there moments where it happens more?
So on to the second part. First. Are there moments where it happens more? We've noticed, and this is also supported by what ExperienceCamps sees with their community, there are times of the year that are really, really hard. And so the nearest, the most recent one that comes to mind is just the holidays, right? Basically December 15th through January 15th are sometimes really, really hard for completely understandable reasons for youth who have lost a loved one, right? Potentially they're seeing all of their friends, spending vacations with their whole family, and they've lost a member of their family. Or perhaps that was the time of year where they lost someone, New Year, terrible New Year's accident or something like that. And so there are times of the year where we do see this happen more. And so, basically the last month, we were seeing higher frequency of kids wanting to go to the memorial garden, kids having conversations about the person that they lost because they're just feeling it more in that time. That's sort of outside of our control, right? We can't tune times of the year. Other things that are, I guess, a little bit more within our control in terms of fostering those conversations, we'll have events on the server that are more directly tied to ExperienceCamps traditions or events. And because those kids went to this in-person space over the summer and they know what that tradition's about, and they know sort of like the headspace that being at camp puts them in and what they're talking about and who they're interacting with, they will sort of naturally start to want to talk more about those things or have those interactions around their person because we're doing something that is tied to ExperienceCamps. In terms of like data and frequency, this is something we're still pretty actively tracking. I would say pretty much every day it comes up at least once in some form or fashion. We won't necessarily have someone build something at the memorial garden every day, nor even every week. That tends to be like a little bit more of almost like concerted effort for our youth of like, I really want to go and dedicate, because it is a game, but it does take some time to build really anything in Minecraft. So really like dedicating, I want to go and I want to spend 30 minutes to an hour of my otherwise like play-based time with friends, creating this build by myself as a memory of my person. But in terms of just like conversational pieces coming up on Discord or just like chatting about it in Minecraft, there will be like a reference to loss or their person almost every day, if not every week.
Just a follow-up on that, because you said you were looking in wanting to get more of those expressive words and to get them express those feeling words or those what was the term you used?
If you're thinking about the flow chart, one of our end goals is for kids to use like feeling words in their expressions when talking to each other about either their person or like how things are going that day. This is something that's on most educators' minds like all the time. A lot of the times you'll ask kids like, "Oh, how's your day today?" Fine. We want to like move so far past that into like actual expressions of just the use of feeling words in their expressions is where we're going.
I was wondering if there's some in way of one in the form of data using like some sort of language processor to track the semantics so you can try to see and maybe measure the difference and the changes in those feeling words as you guys go on, right? That could be interesting to see. And then, as you say, you provide them opportunities. I think I really like this model where you get them to help in game, talk about it, help in the space, talk about it, you see that transference. Like, I would love to then see using that metric of, okay, if I see the, seeing these words used from now and then after 3-4 months of play, after these new spaces have come into play, I would love to see if that works. Like that would be interesting.
And how are you recording those? Are you like, you're saving, I guess, all of the chats that happen, but are you then now still manually coding things, for instance, or is there something that's like an algorithm or a program that like can, I know there's like, for example, that can, content analysis certain things or give back certain topics that come up. Is that something that you're using, or is it still hardcore coding by yourself, like writing it down?
No. So we keep all of the logs of Minecraft chat and all the logs of our Discord chat. It'd be difficult for like the voice chat, which is I think one of the
Yeah.
primary ways that they communicate with one another.
Yeah.
It's possible. There are ways to do it. We actually haven't thought about this. This is a really great idea of just doing like keyword analysis, or I think it's called like sentiment analysis. Of just like the types of words that are being used. And I'm sure there would be some evolution over time, because even the Discord messages that I was sharing, those were closer to now. We started the server, I think, last July. And I'm sure if I scrolled back up to July, anecdotally, it would look like, hi, hey, is the server open? Progressing to what we're seeing now, which is like, I miss you guys. Oh, I can't be there. I'm so sad. So this would be something that we will be doing because that's a great idea, and I wish I'd thought of it.
Yeah, it just seems very interesting. A way to look at what they were talking about and the content and seeing the transfer, because even you can sometimes make these rough like word cloud things, maybe that's a less sophisticated way, but I know that that's also something that you can do, right? To see, hey, what words are being used. But yeah, maybe if you can find some programs to run through the chat or something, that would be great.
Yeah, that'd be a cool way to visit for some data visibility. All right. I think that's about the time. We wanted to thanks, Matt, so much for taking the time to chat with us and sharing your work and experiences. I think many of our viewers can take valuable insights in your story for sure. But if you want to take this time to tell us where we can find more about you, your projects, how would grieving kids who haven't heard of ConnectedCamps or ExperienceCraft find you? Let's see. Do you have anything else you want to plug?
Yeah. What would be the easiest way? I can say there's 2 articles that have been written about ExperienceCraft that would be great places to start. Would it be easiest if I just share those with you, Joanneke? Or
share them with us, and we can put them in the description of the video.
Perfect. So there's those 2. Otherwise, yeah, just our own 2 websites, which is ConnectedCamps.com or ExperienceCamps.com, are great places just to start reading about our organizations. And then I think the main landing page, which again I'll share with Joanneke to include as written, was ExperienceCamps.com/Minecraft. Keeping it easy. But those are some great places to start if you just wanted broad sort of reading about our organizations and what we're doing for ExperienceCraft. And then there's 2. There's a Mashable piece and a tech and learning piece that are also really great places just to start reading about other interesting things that are happening in our world.
Yeah. And do you have any call to people of the audience of, things that you maybe need help with in the team, or something that you're still thinking about and you haven't quite figured out? Like maybe there's someone out there who's a specialist in that semantic analysis we talked about before.
Yes, actually there is. I mentioned it earlier on, way earlier on, just around some of the AI stuff. So we, along with I think pretty much everyone else in the world at this point, are super, super interested in what AI can do to support some of the work that we're doing. I mentioned ChatGPT. It actually has a sort of plug-in translator that works with Minecraft. You can tell ChatGPT to build you something in Minecraft and it will build it for you. There are also components to this around our Discord server where we want to have some sort of AI component to our Discord server. An example might be an AI art bot where kids can use this AI art bot in Discord to help generate some sort of creative expression for them to then build in Minecraft, or as just a way to express something that they're feeling through a prompt that then creates like a visual representation of it that they can share with counselors or with their friends.
Yeah, personally, I'm really interested in that. I would love to sit with you on that one on another day.
So you can sit
for sure.
Yeah, and if there's anyone else that's listening and has wants to work with you on that or has some ideas or tools to share, please reach out, I would say. And if you want to find out more about the GEMH Lab and the work that we do, you can check out our website, www.gemhlab.com, where you can follow us on different socials. We're on Twitter, we're on Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook. I think we're pretty much everywhere. You can also find those in the description below, as well as on screen in a minute. And we want that's about what I wanted to say.
Yep. I got nothing, man. It's been always a pleasure hanging out with you, Matt. And look forward to talking to you some more.
Oh yeah, I forgot about the survey. So if you have something to say and if you have some feedback or things that you would like to see or that you would like us to talk about, You can put that in the survey. We put that in the link in the chat. So if you want to fill out, that would be very much appreciated.
I'll in the link below.
Yeah, everything in the description below. Yeah, but once again, thank you very much. And hopefully we'll see you in the next quarter with a new GEMH session. So make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel and follow us on all the social media channels.
Or you can check some of our previous GEMH sessions somewhere. I don't know if it's gonna be here. I just always wanted to do this.
I don't know if that happens still.
I don't know, but it's kind of cool and I just wanted to do it.
There is a playlist on the YouTube channel with all the previous sessions that we had. So you can check those out as well.
All right.
Yeah, that's about it. All right. Have a nice
Bye, everybody.
morning or afternoon. Bye-bye.